morning, this is Ms. Billerbeck, and we're going to talk about section 2.5, rational numbers. The rational numbers are numbers that can be expressed in the form of A over B, or A divided by B, where A and B are integers. Now, if you remember, integers are numbers like -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, going on to positive infinity and negative infinity. So we can write rational numbers as a fraction. Irrational numbers are also terminating decimals, and repeating decimals are rational numbers. All right, so if we have a pie here, we split the pie in 4 sections and we eat 3 of those sections, then we would write the fraction 3 over 4, or 3/4. Okay, now let's recall that 2 divided by 2, or 2 over 2, equals 1. Now, if we have the same pie, but we had a few more people over, so we had to cut smaller pieces of pie, and we made 8 sections now instead of 4. Okay? And our guests, they ate 6 of those sections. So we had 6 out of 8 pieces of pie were eaten. Well, when we break this into prime factorization, 2 times 3 equals 6, and 2 times 4 equals 8, and they have a common factor here. Well, we know 2 over 2 equals 1. So we can multiply 1 times 3 over 4, which is just 3/4. So this is the simplest form of this fraction. So when we are given a problem, we write the answer in simplest form. So you won't get it right if you leave it in an unsimplified form. All right. Let's do some examples. Oh, fractions. So give the answer in simplest form. So when we have fractions like that, there's 2 things we can do. First, we can break this up. So that's the same thing as a -1 plus a -1/2. And that's the same thing as a -2 plus a -1/3. So now we can add the integers together, which are much easier to add. So -1 plus -2 is -3. Now we just have to deal with the 1/2 and the 2 and the 1/3, and they're negative. So we want to make sure we have a common denominator. So the common denominator, we would write 3 over 3 here, which doesn't add anything to the equation because 3 over 3 is 1. And now we do the same thing for 1/3. So to get a common denominator of 6, we multiply by 2 over 2, which again, this is 1, so we're not affecting the equation. So we write -3 plus a -3 over 6 plus a -2 over 6. Okay, and then these are the same signs, so we can add them together. So that's -3 plus -5/6. So the answer would be -3 and 5/6 when we finish answering this. Okay, so they're all negative, so we're all adding them, and we're keeping the sign of the bigger number. Now let's look at this one. Wow, this one's a little more difficult. Okay, so now this one, let's use the other technique. Okay, let's make this into an improper fraction. So if we remember, 4 over 1 is 4 over 4. So 1 plus 1/4 would be how we do this when we make it an improper fraction. So this becomes 5 over 4. Now we could have done this by multiplying 4 times 1 and adding 1, which would be 5. So 5 over 4. So now we have 5/4 plus a -8/3. And we have two negatives here. So we know two negatives make a positive. So we change that sign. And we have 5/9. So now we have to, let me make some room here. We have to find the least common multiple or least common denominator. So this is 2 times 2, this is 3, and this is 3 times 3. So they don't have anything in common except these two. So it's going to be, the least common denominator is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, which is 36. So that means we're multiplying here by 9 over 9. We're multiplying here by 12 over 12. And we're multiplying here by 4 over 4. So then when we simplify, I'll go up to here. 5 times 9 is 45 over 36. We're subtracting this one, so minus, and that's 96 over 36. And then we're adding 20 over 36. Okay, so these are different signs, so we subtract and we keep the sign. 96 negative, so it's going to be a negative number. So we have negative, and that's going to be 51 over 36. Do what I said. Negatives go in line with a fraction bar. Okay, so negative 51 plus 20 over 36. So again, we have different signs, so we take the difference and we keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 51. So the answer is negative, and it's going to be 31 over 36. Now this is prime, so we can't reduce, so that's the simplest answer. All right, let's do this. So when we have this is the same thing as 3 divided by a -3. Okay, well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and the answer would be -1. So if we practice keep, change, flip as well, let's do that. So we have keep the first one, change the sign of multiplication, and flip it over. So we know 1/3 of 3 is 1, and then it'd be -1. So this one is -7 divided by -1/2. So we keep, we change to multiplication, and we flip this over. So it's -2 over 1. Okay, at this point we could put a 1 there. So -7 times -2 is a positive 14. 1 times 1 is 1. 14 over 1 is 14. So this one we have -1/4 divided by 8. So we have -1/4. We change the sign to multiplication. We flip this over, 1 over 8. So this equals, there's a negative times a positive, so the answer is negative. And then it's 1 over 32, because 4 times 8 is 32. So this one we have to make an improper fraction first. So 3 times 6 is 18 plus 2 is 20. So we have negative 20 over 3 times 2 over 5. Okay, so this equals, we could reduce it, but let's just multiply this. So 40 over 15. They both are divisible by 5. They have a common factor of 5, so we have 8 over 3. Well, 8 over 3, there are 2 3's in 8 with 2 left over. So that's 2 2/3. And this last one, we have negative 3/4. We're going to divide by this. Okay, so we have to first figure out what this is. So we have negative 1/5, and we multiply by 3 over 3, plus negative 1/3, and multiply by 5 over 5. Okay. Let me get a little more room here. So what we're going to do is take this, and we have negative 3/4 divided by, and this becomes negative 3 over 15 plus negative 5 over 15 inside. So that's going to be negative 3 over 4 divided by, and then here we have the same sign, so we add them and we keep the sign of the negative number because the bigger number is negative. So we have negative, and 3 plus 5 is 8/15. It can't be reduced. So now we keep change flip. So we have negative 3/4. We change this division sign to a multiplication, flip this over. So we have negative 15 over 8. Okay, so we quickly looking, there is no cross canceling here that we can do, so it doesn't look like we'll simplify, but we have 2 negatives, so that makes a positive number. 3 times 15 is 45. 4 times 8 is 32. So if we write that as a proper fraction, there's 1, 32, and 45. And then there will be 13 left over. So we have 13 over 32. So our answer in a proper fraction would be 1 13/32. Okay. So you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.